Hello, welcome to Aviation 101 with Laura. One of the most popular topics that I've been seeing the last few months is about Jeppesen charts. And then I had a friend who flies business jets and hot air balloons, and she asked me to make a video suggestion about standardized taxi routes. So standard taxi routes, and I had to do some research, so I'm going to share that with you guys because I think it's really interesting. And also I found an interesting weird typo on the FAA's NOTAMS site. But also it left me with more questions. So honestly, if you're from the FAA, I would absolutely love to know a little bit more about this topic. But I started with this Bold Method, excellent article about standard taxi routes. It's a little older, but it's really good because it tells about these standard taxi routes. And what my friend sent me is this taxi route information for Dallas-Fort Worth. And you can see that it is in fact a Jeppesen product. Okay, and we have a lot of standard taxi information, which is really cool for Dallas-Fort Worth because, as some of you know, Dallas-Fort Worth is an extremely complicated airport. It's where I had a runway incursion. If you want to watch that video, it's very cringy. I'm cringy on it, but it's in the video description, so check it out. But this is definitely a complicated airport. But if you look at this diagram from Jeppesen, there's lots of operational notes on here, but they don't list anything on this page. This is page 60-9 in the Jeppesen numbering system. This here is 60-6. So this is like a different page from Jeppesen. And so I thought, okay, this is like really interesting. They even have designated route designators. So this is great if you're going into a busy airport and you might want to look at this to find out what your taxi instructions might be. Okay, but that brought up my question, like what if you don't have Jeppesen charts available? Is this public information? So again, looking at this helpful Bold Method article, we actually have another Jeppesen page, except for this is Los Angeles. And then they tell you where you can find these charts. So Jeppesen charts, okay, obviously, but then talks about ForeFlight and going into notices to airmen. So I thought, okay, must be in NOTAMS. All right, I started looking around in notices to airmen. I did this NOTAMS search, and I did one of the airports that was mentioned somewhere else about Denver. And I was like, okay, let's look at Denver. Let's filter it. Actually, here I filtered it by class of NOTAM. These are a bunch of procedures NOTAMs, but if I keep going down, we will see that, okay, we actually do have a LTA. Okay, more on what that is in a second, but there's LTAs here at Denver. Interesting. All right, if you go to this one, here we do have some standard taxi information for departing. So that's helpful, good information, signed by the air traffic manager at Denver Tower. All right, great. It says a letter to airmen. That's what LTA actually stands for. But then I thought, all right, that's good. How else can you get these things? So they are available here. If you go to AIM talks about this in 4-3-20. I'll link to this in the video description. Standard taxi routes, cool. They are available two methods. LOA, okay, that's the letter of agreement for that facility, or publicly available via domestic notices website. Okay, so if you go to this link, it actually takes you to this, which is the domestic notices. General notices, if you go down to the airport and facility, this is actually where I found a little typo. Apparently, the FAA has a little bit of difficulty spelling California. Shh. Okay, but we do have taxi routes for LA, and we also have the Denver taxi route. So if I click on this, here we have information about the standard taxi at LA. I think everything is spelled right in this page, not sure. But looking at Denver, same information, okay? Except for, actually, this is a little bit more information than I found when I was looking at this letter to airmen here, when you look at some of these LTAs. So then I thought, okay, but this is kind of weird because I started off my research trying to figure out where is this information at Dallas, Fort Worth, which is much closer to me, and looking at this domestic notices page and seeing, well, you know what, actually there is nothing listed about standardized taxi routes. We have Phoenix, Arizona. We have the misspelled California. We have Denver. Okay. But nothing about Dallas-Fort Worth. So then I thought, okay, surely it's on this page here. So if you search for Dallas-Fort Worth and you look, here's the problem. There are like tons and tons of NOTAMs for Dallas, but you do have some LTAs, letter to airmen, but nothing about standardized taxi routes. So I'm like confused by this because I was thinking, okay, if this is here, where is it here? So if you're from the FAA and you're in air traffic control and you know how this works, please tell me because I was confused. Why is this not at the airport where Jeppesen talks about it? How can this be proprietary to Jeppesen? It doesn't seem right to me. And again, if you look at AIM, it just says this is where you're supposed to get it, the LOA, okay, or this website, which if it's an LOA for Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, how am I supposed to get that, for example, if I don't have Jeppesen? I don't know. Here is a lot of more information about pilot responsibilities using this standard taxi routes. But yeah, I would love to know what you think. If you're an air traffic controller, you're in the FAA, you know, I'd also love it if you guys would spell California right. But okay, all that being aside, tell me what you think about this. What is up with standard taxi routes? Why are some airports seem to have them according to Jeppesen, but not according to this database of NOTAMs or this database of the domestic notices? So yeah, thank you for watching. If this is interesting or helpful, please share it with a friend. I would love that. From Aviation 101 with Laura, have a great day.